What is this? Behind the curtain, I rely on Craig's link to get to the comment section. So I was looking for it and it wasn't there.
We're trying.
Welcome.
We'll get going here shortly. I'm sorry. We're all just kind of disheveled today because of everything. This is great television.
Oh, I figured it out.
Oh, I see it. Nope. No, I don't. Never mind. Nope, I don't. That's the Andy Reid press conference. I just got promoted.
Guys,
we're here. Out. 10 are watching. 10 people are watching right now.
Guys, I'm freaking out. I apparently have to drag your guys' videos from the top right of my Skype into a split screen. But I can drag my own face around, but stay small. It doesn't get big.
Don't do that. Every time you moved it, like you lagged.
Okay. So quit moving myself around.
Chris is in here already. I got a question from you, Chris. I got you, homie. Cheers, JC Proctor.
All right, well, hold on. Let me move myself out of the way again. I don't like where I am.
I can see Craig's beautiful face right now.
Oh, you can?
Yeah.
Because you're on the YouTube, though.
Yeah, I went on the YouTube.
Yeah. Yes, sorry, we have slight technical difficulties this week.
It's all right. But more specifically, it's not. It's all right. We'll figure it out. Chris sees all three of us. Hello, Charles Harris. How you doing, my friend? Thank you for spending some time with us today.
I was a big fan of Charles Harris. Well, actually, I was not a big fan of Charles Harris coming out of Missouri.
No, you were. I heard it here first, guys.
He's a fan of Charles Harris. The Dolphins are not a fan of Charles Harris either coming out.
There's some really good questions in here, guys. We're going to try to get to as many as we possibly can. And it's mostly about the defense. There's some Patrick Mahomes questions.
Mostly about the cornerbacks?
It's a lot of cornerback questions. Obviously, as there should be.
Oh, yeah, I see all of us on the thing. Oh, no. Go away, volume.
Turn off the volume, Matt.
Listen.
Gosh.
I am so thrown off right now by this new system. You guys know that I have the technological skills of a second grader, and you guys are making me use all these different programs. Can't do this.
You're not good at this.
Very, very bad at this.
Correct.
But you do this for a living. You figure out life's problems for a living.
You're basically my president. Which is a little bit scary.
All right. Well, while we figure out some technical things, anybody in the that's already here for the live stream want to fire off some quick questions that you didn't ask for the mailbag, have at it. We got a couple minutes here before we start the recording.
Shout out to Casey Randy, who is watching us from Seattle, which is just. I tell you what, and we got a couple really cool mailbag questions. We got a couple really cool things from some people. I can't believe that anyone cares about what we have to say, honestly. Well, the fact that people listen to us in Seattle, the fact that people listen to us in general, it means everything. Like we are. I'm trying to be serious for a second. Like, thank you so much. It's crazy. We really appreciate it. Deontay Foreman got Anthony Miller. Deontay Foreman got picked up by the Colts. The Chiefs didn't really get a chance to
Thank goodness
take him. I don't know if they would have. He fits the profile of a thick back that they typically covet. And oh my, Jinx is here.
Let's go.
Oh
Heard
no!
a rumor on Twitter that Chiefs were interested in Whitney Merciless. Any truth to that? I would be surprised if the Chiefs were heavily interested in another defensive end player that's especially going to require it. But I mean, if he's out there, I mean, he fits the profile of what they would like a defensive end. I just don't think they would go out of their way to go sign him.
What's up, Big Chief Sean? How you doing, my man?
Robert Paulson, is cornerback as scary of a position as it seems for the Chiefs? No, it's scarier.
Bill is Nicky asks a good question, and there's not a ton of Mecole questions. Realistically, what kind of impact could Mecole Hardman have with us? Okay, so this is Mecole Hardman. I had concerns about his route tree, and I still have concerns about his route tree and his ability to be a complete receiver. I think the Chiefs have enough trust built up with him that he can run some of the vertical stuff. He can run an incomplete route tree to make an impact, actually. The vertical stuff, there is a trend. If you watch Mecole's highlights, every Mecole highlight is down the field. He's not running, a elaborate route tree. He's not creating separation in a variety of ways. He's running past people. The quality and the trait is there, and he's being able to utilize it without any issues whatsoever. With even being, they trust him enough to be able to just do those things, and there's a path to success for him. And I think it's the same path to success that we've been talking about if he's going to have an impact year one. But it's kind of coming along a little bit. I'm actually pretty encouraged to see that he's able to utilize those traits so quickly. So, what? Was it a speed cut? Okay. All right. That's okay. Speed cuts are the best. Timeout. I hate speed cut or die. Thank you by the way.
No, stop.
Matt, no.
Stop.
We will fight.
Stop.
No. Speed cuts or die.
Stop.
No.
Speed cuts if you have sticks for ankles that can't bend and sloppy footwork and tight hips, yes.
Do it fast, Matty. Go fast.
I'm fine with speed cuts. I have no issue with speed cuts. Just if all you can do is speed cuts, that's not good.
No. And all he can do is speed cut right now.
So that's it. I haven't seen.
All right, check. Everybody hear me now. It looks like, oh my goodness. I'm sorry, guys. I really am sorry. This is ridiculous. How about now, everybody? Matt, please talk.
Yes, can you guys hear us now? Did we all hearing
Okay.
Craig?
I think
at least they're hearing you.
Recalibrated it. Once again, thank you so much for sticking with us through this.
We're trying to work through some things
YouTube
here.
changed everything on August 1st, so we have to fix a bunch of crap that is not great. I think that, do we have some more questions? Sorry. I think what I said about Mecole Hardman, by the way, Kent, Mecole Hardman, not me.
I'm never going to get that right. I'm just never going to get that right. I don't care.
Mecole Hardman. Best route that he caught was a dig in traffic. It was a speed cut, but he did go up and he climbed the ladder, and he looked good on a couple plays. He looked like a functional receiver. I thought, based off of the tape that we watched, based off of the stuff that we heard from OTAs, his hands were suspect, his routes weren't great. I thought we were going to see a lot more of a project than we saw when I was out at camp. Like he looked pretty good. Not great, but pretty good. So there was something to work with there.
Yeah, and I think my long spiel got lost in the audio issues, but I was essentially just saying
that's not a problem.
I haven't seen him live yet. I haven't got to see anything, so I'm not changing my initial opinion that I think he's going to need most of the season to get ready. But what you're hearing out of camp has been all positive. Like, it's good that he's able to showcase his skills against the Chiefs cornerbacks. I'm just ready to see him do it against other teams' cornerbacks that are also getting beat by Byron Pringle, Cody Thompson, so on and so forth, like a drum as well. But it sounds like McCole Hardman's showing progress. It sounds like he's working towards being a functional wide receiver. And if the Chiefs can put him into a position where he never has to run a super clean route, or he doesn't have to beat a jam off the line of scrimmage, I mean, his speed's rare. So you can't really complain about that.
It is. And it looks good. Like, I mean, he looks good with the ball in his hands. That's kind of some of the stuff that we say about Tremont Smith. Like, as a kick returner, he looks good with the ball in his hands. So they're going to find ways to get him in space, get him with the ball in his hands. We talked a little bit about that throughout all of this, and now all of a sudden you're looking at him as, well, maybe he'll offer a little bit more than that. So that's good.
Well, yeah, and like I guess like I think a lot of the things that we've talked about with Mecole Hardman are still there. And if as a route runner, he's still got a ways to go. And if you listen to Andy Reid, this is the best thing. This is the best part of this. If you listen to Andy Reid's press conference today, I'm sure it'll be on from the podium whenever Pete puts that up. But someone asked him straight up, basically, if you thought Mecole Hardman was farther along as a route runner than you anticipated, and Andy did the biggest high wire act I've seen him do the entire preseason. Like, it was like, yeah, Brett's kind of on that. He's really on that, and then he kind of just went to list a lot of the reasons why, like, we're asking him to do a lot of different things that he hasn't done before. He's asked to do a lot more routes than what he was asked to do there, all this stuff. So, like, he basically flat out said, like, no, he's not there. You got to kind of read between the lines with Andy a little bit, but he did not go out and say, yeah, he's a really well-developed route runner. He's a good route runner and all that stuff. He was really trying hard to be nice without, like, hurting Mecole's confidence. That being said, I'm going long about Mecole because I'm actually kind of excited about it and passionate about it. The path to success is there for him, and it's very obvious. And all the little things that you want him to do with the slip screens and the jets and all that stuff, they can still get the ball in space on the easy stuff, and he can threaten some people downfield. That is encouraging. Mm-hmm. And I think he actually still has a chance to make some plays this season while he develops the rest of his game as a receiver. He's got a ways to go still. And that was the same way. But he's being able to utilize the trait still, which is awesome.
Do we have any Tano questions this week?
We got some Tano questions.
Okay.
We got
a
lot of Tano questions.
I didn't want to dive into that. We'll dive into that on the pod.
Everybody wants to know.
Yeah.
Everybody wants
to know.
I see what you did there.
You take my long-winded answers, Ken. I'll take all your puns.
Is Damian Williams' injury big at this point? Yeah. Like,
it's a little concerning.
So he has a big hammy.
Yeah. Like, they made it out to be, it's a small tweak of the hammy. He'll be back in a couple days. Same with Jordan Lucas. Like, they made both of those out to be not a big deal, and they've missed an extended period of time. That being said, Jordan Lucas doesn't look like a guy with a hammy injury. He's standing behind the coaching staff doing the drills behind them. Now,
so
I don't know what's up there. Like, he's not doing all the drills, obviously, but like when they were doing some footwork drills, he's sitting there chopping his feet and everything like that. And I'm going, that doesn't look like a guy with a bad hammy. So I don't know what's going on right now with some of those guys. It's interesting.
I think we're ready to go here. So, Craig, you've got the rundown, by the way.
Yes.
My dear friend, my dear pal, dear handsome pal. Guys, thank you all so much for
sticking with us through that.
For sticking with us, for listening to us.
Cross our fingers, things go well.
Chris Albright, hey, Chris, Cody Thompson's not a lock, and I hate to admit that.
Why?
No. I wish he was.
I don't know.
I love Cody Thompson.
If Garrick Dieter goes mystery IR with his back injury, Cody Thompson's making this team.
Oh. Garrick Dieter is never playing in a snap the rest of the season.
You're already
Pat's
writing
best
that
friend
off.
is getting the mystery IR tag so fast. Oh, it's my back's spazzing. No. Okay, it's because you're like the 9th best receiver on this team, but you're number 1 in Pat's heart. So
number 1 in Pat's heart is good enough for wide receiver 4 from me. Let's go.
Tyreek just went live on Fortnite, so we lost a viewer.
I understand.
We're probably going to lose a lot of you. Guys, can we postpone this? I'm going to go.
Can my internet handle another stream? All right, you guys.
Let's get this podcast started.
Maybe I should turn on my mic.
That's probably a good idea, buddy.
Access to the rundown.
Yeah, I gave you the rundown already.
Not access.
No, Matty's not allowed to have access. Sam, you didn't miss anything, my friend.
You missed a bunch of technical difficulties as we're sorting out how to work YouTube again.
Because we can't anymore. So, all right. Let me just do this. You did not miss anything, Sam.
We're about to get started.
Yes. Okay. Yep. We're good to go. All right, you guys ready?
Yes, sir.
In 3, 2, 1. What's up, everybody? Thanks for joining us today. My name's Ken Swanson. This is the AP Laboratory, the Mailbag edition, and full swing of training camp. The Chiefs have a game this week. Very excited about that. I'm joined, as always, by my co-hosts on this show. First, find him on Twitter at Chief in Carolina. Matthew Lane, what you got for us today?
So instead of begging everybody for more 5-star reviews this week, I thought it would be time to share a 5-star review that came with the question. I always promise people that if they send in 5-star reviews with questions, that we'll read them out loud on the podcast. If this one goes out to Swanson's Bouffant, it's a 5-star review.
Favorite name.
Definitely the best name. But it says, if Sammy Watkins has a monster season, is there any way that he could have enough trade value at his 2020 salary that the Chiefs could flip him for a draft pick? There's no way the Chiefs can have 5 players in the top 50 salary on their roster with Clark, Watkins, Mahomes, Jones, and Hill.
No.
Ken?
Oh no, I don't think they can trade Sammy Watkins' contract at that figure. He's gonna have to play like Julio, and he's gonna have a good year, but I don't even think the volume is going to be there for him to play like Julio. And even then, I still think it might be a challenge. That being said, maybe they can restructure him, keep him around a little bit longer if he has success. Because I really like Sammy Watkins. I like what he brings to this offense, and he could be a fun ad.
His cap hits $21 million, isn't it?
Correct.
Nobody's trading for anybody not named Aaron Donald that's not a quarterback for $21 million. Not to
play like it's just, I don't think it's particularly reasonable. Real quick, Matty, we're gonna get into Matty's game. Oh wait, Matty, maybe you should introduce Craig because you always introduce Craig. Sorry.
We are also joined by my fellow friend that I would never ever forget to introduce on a live podcast.
Talking already.
Barley Hop on Twitter. Craig Stout, the most handsome man at Chiefs training camp this past weekend. How you doing today, buddy?
Oh, that's not true. BJ Kissel was there and Chief Bearcat was there. So that's definitely not the case.
Wow, strong slander towards Pete.
No, Pete's up there, his dirtness. Like, we had a plethora of handsome people, and that's just the people that I knew. So, yeah, no, Kay Gumminger was there. Like, I mean, lots of people that were handsome fellows. Anyway. Yeah. Hi, guys. How's everybody doing?
we've got a game that we're gonna play here. Matty is going to spring a game on us here in a minute that me and Craig have zero idea about. So there's no way that ends badly. But first, there's a couple things I wanted to do real quick. Craig got a long message from KU Ray, and he was talking about how he and his 12-year-old daughter, Abby, were listening to our show on the way to training camp this weekend. Heard episodes 59 and 60. Really liked me freaking out about Tom Brady, or Tom Baby, I guess is what they call him. Shout out to them, because that is just so immensely cool that a family is listening to us driving to training camp. That means the world to all of us.
Yes.
I know I speak for Craig and Matty. That's so cool. Abby, if you ever want to ask questions on the show, you're getting bumped to the front of the line. So please feel free to ask anytime you want.
Yes.
That means so much that you care about this show, and that it sounds like you had a good time at training camp getting to get Patrick Mahomes' autograph. That's really awesome. If you ever want to ask questions on the show, you've got a bump to the front of the line. Also, really wanted to make sure we're going to answer this question first, because it's awesome, and it's from the 5-star reviews also, Matty. I'm Deej, who are you? It says, I love this podcast like it's my firstborn. Myself and so many of my friends are born and raised Chiefs fans living abroad, serving the Army. Thank you so much for your service. Mm-hmm. Really appreciate that. Y'all make us get that warm, tingly Chiefs football feeling every time we listen. Thank you guys so much. Whoever listens over there overseas, thank you so much for your service. Again, feel free to ask us questions, front of the line. And I think he asked a question with that too, didn't he?
No,
maybe he didn't.
He just.
Oh, sorry.
I just wanted to shout him out there. I want to make sure that we saluted them. Thanks for listening, everybody. Really means a lot.
That's so awesome. So really just want to make sure to shout out all those people. I know that was a little bit long-winded, but I mean, it means a lot. It really does. Thank you all so much. Matty, all that sentimentality is out of the way. Are you going to ruin it with this game?
No, this is a great game. This is the training camp game. So this is for only people that have been to training camp, which is on this podcast right now. It's Kent and Craig. And essentially, I'm just going to ask you guys a series of questions, and there's a right and a wrong answer, and the answers are very open-ended, so I'm the judge and the jury here. But it's just going to be about a player that's most likely to do something. After your experience at training camp, you use that information. Now, somebody like Damian Williams wasn't there for Craig, so if I asked the running back most likely to score a touchdown first, and that's not a question, Craig could still say Damian Williams based on the other running backs not being good if he wanted to. But I want you guys to really rely on what you've seen at training camp to answer these questions. Are you ready?
Oh, so right, you just want us to react on the couple days that we saw. So if somebody had bad days.
You can use your knowledge.
Okay.
You can use your team knowledge, but if you saw somebody really stand out, that might alter your answer to some of these questions.
I'm with it.
We're going to start with Kent. The wide receiver that is most likely to record the first 2 or more touchdown reception games, but this wide receiver can't have a double consonant in their first name. Double vowel either. Sorry, double vowel or consonant. Sorry.
Oh, you're making me think way too much here. Double consonant?
Or vowel. Essentially, Tyreek and Sammy are off the table.
So basically, who's having a 2-touchdown game first, Cole or D-Rob?
McCole has 2 vowels, so D-Rob. I think it's D-Rob.
Okay, fine. Demarcus Robinson. This is going off so well, so fast. All right, next question, I guess.
Yeah, you're still leading off because you struggled. The running back most likely to have the most receptions in the first half of the season.
Ooh.
It's Damian Williams. Book it.
Darrell Williams.
No, okay. Craig's wrong.
Shot out. Okay. Why is he wrong? No, you can tell us why he's wrong. You guys can banter this first half.
Darrell looked great. Honestly, Darrell looked better than Carlos Hyde did. And if Damian Williams misses some time, he's right now not practicing with the team. He's got a hamstring injury. I agree, if he's there, he's the number 1 guy. He's going to catch the most passes. If he misses any time at the beginning of the season, I think Darryl the Barrel is going to show up in a bigger way than Carlos Hyde, and we're going to see him on the field more. And Darwin's a rookie.
With Darwin.
No,
I'm surprised nobody went with
first
Darwin.
half. First half of the season, he's a rookie, and he doesn't like to play rookie running backs.
Yeah, I like Daryl the Barrel Williams,
I
but
really wish this nickname wouldn't stick.
it's going to stick. Everyone, please flood Matty's timeline with barrel references after this show at Chief in Carolina. Give him a follow, too. You just picked the least dynamic pass catcher in the group to lead the team in catches the first half of the season.
I don't think he picked Carlos Hyde, and I'm a Carlos Hyde fan, but I think he's the least dynamic.
Carlos Hyde dropped 5 passes the 2 days I was there.
I didn't see Carlos Hyde drop 5 passes,
That's
so maybe that's where the perception is. But Daryl is...
All right,
seems
moving
rich.
on. You're cut off. Bob Barker in this. The defensive end most likely to record 5+ sacks this season that doesn't have an R in their last name.
Oh, my God.
Why are you making us think so much?
Okay, which defensive end's most likely to have 5+ sacks? Go ahead and answer. Frank Clark. Fun game. No. Think about it.
Can you find a different qualifier besides letters in the last name so we don't have to spell out Ogba?
Hey, it's Chris Jones. Next.
Oh, the answer is it's. I don't feel good about any of them. None of them are getting 5.
Most likely.
Ogba. Fine, okay. Ogba. YOLO.
Thank you. All right, Craig is going first now. The cornerback to first record 2 interceptions on the year that doesn't have an A in their last name.
Why are you doing this?
Because I'm making you think. That's
Kendall
the whole
Fuller.
point of the game.
Kendall Fuller, just because he'll have the most opportunities.
Yep, smart answer, but is it the right answer?
No, but Kendall Fuller.
Not okay. Yeah, no, that's the right answer. Because Mark Fields isn't making the team.
It's true.
No Herb Miller love around these parts?
No.
0.
Herb Miller did very little for me.
Craig, you're still up. The linebacker most likely to record a 10-tackle, 1 sack, 1 interception game that is not Anthony Hitchens.
Thank God you didn't make us think. Darren Lee.
Reggie Ragland.
No! Maybe.
Ragland's picking off everybody now. Brady in the end zone, Mahomes in the end zone. Just don't throw near Reggie in the end zone.
Yeah.
Maybe Reggie can play corner.
All right, we're moving on to the lightning round. Right now I have Craig ahead 3-2.
How many of these questions are there?
That was it for the real round. Now this is the lightning round. These are quick. These are boom, boom, boom. You just get a player name and move on.
Okay.
Player most likely to be traded for a cornerback.
DeMarcus Robinson.
Ooh, Craig.
DeMarcus Robinson. Same thing.
Oh, come on.
Yeah,
Lame. Player most likely to be found at a bar past the curfew. Craig, you're up first.
Travis Kelce.
Bashad Breeland.
Ooh, I like that. Kent ties it up. This is the last question for all the marbles. The player most likely to grow a playoff beard better than Craig's.
Patrick Mahomes. Because everything he does is magic.
That's the correct answer, but
I mean, never mind. Game over. You guys are pandering to the audience too much because Patrick Mahomes is not growing a beard better than Craig Stout.
Travis Kelce is the answer, though.
Kent wins the game. That is the first ever rendition of the training camp game. Kent is now flexing on the live stream.
Yeah.
And we can move on with the rest of the show.
Matty, couple constructive notes here. Never make us spell again. Ever.
Shall we get into the people's questions?
Let's get into the people's questions, and we're going to start with this one. It's from mmouse187, and it is from the 5-star reviews. I love the rant on Patrick Mahomes getting ranked at only number 4 in the top 100 players. I felt the same way. Thank you. I'm still salty about the dumbest thing ever. It's been cornerback panic time for the last 16 months. At what point is it acceptable to resign David Amerson, or to re-sign David Amerson? Never. I'll answer that one just very quickly. It is never time. The bonus question is, if Tremont Smith is allowed to switch to running back, can Darwin Thompson take a stab at corner? I'm freaking out a little bit, fellas. Craig, let's get the transition from from running back to cornerback for Darwin started.
No, not at all. Darwin's small. and stubby armed, and yeah, he's got fluid hips, but no, guys, stop trying to move corners to running back and running backs to corners. Just stop. Just no.
Okay. Let's start moving on to some of the mailbag questions from Twitter. Chiefs England 95 asks, "What are you looking forward to seeing in the first preseason game?" I'm just going to answer this real quick. That's what the entire episode will be on Friday. We are going to basically do a big game preview for you, so be on the lookout for that next week. Okay, Rise of Mahomes asks, the projected cornerback starters at this point, Matthew.
I mean, I think it's still the same 3 guys that we thought going into the year. And for the most part, I don't think that Kendall Fuller being relegated to just the slot corner should affect anyone's opinion on it. The difference between Kendall Fuller and Bashaud Breeland or Charvarius Ward on the outside is pretty negligible, especially for the amount of snaps they're going to spend there. So in case I didn't make it clear, Charvarius Ward, Bashaud Breeland on the outside, Kendall Fuller in the slot. I don't feel great about it. I don't think that's a good 1, 2, or 3 corner personally, but that's kind of where the Chiefs are left right now.
It's DeMontre Wade and Herb Miller getting run with the 2s behind these guys. Neither one of those guys is pushing Bashaud Breeland, who looks fine. He doesn't look great. He looks fine out there. And Charvarius Ward, who looks like a press man corner that's having to play zone. If they can upgrade his spot, I think that lineup, and then all of a sudden you can have Charvarius Ward pushing those guys a little bit. I think that's a better lineup. Then we can start talking about swapping some starters. But right now, it's like Matty said, Charvarius and Breeland on the outside, and Kendall Fuller in the slot.
Here's a quick question for you, Craig. Hold on 1 second. Where would you rank the performance from cornerbacks that you saw this year of Breeland and Ward to last year of that of Nelson and Amerson's? Because you've been both years. So I think you're the only one of us so far that has seen both years with pads on now.
I still think... Oh, man.
It's just at camp, because last year at camp, I thought Amerson looked pretty rough.
That's what I was going to say.
It wasn't bad at all. Nelson was fine, 100%. Right. I thought at camp, Amerson looked pretty rough. So where would you I
think Ward's done more than Amerson did, at least in the couple days that I was there. So, and Ward at least has length, has a ceiling. Amerson, you pretty much knew what you were getting. He was a 1-year dude. So I feel better this year about last year, although Kendall Fuller looked better last year than he does this year. So
just because he smiled at you.
He did smile at me.
Matty, you're getting dunked on for your game in the live stream right now.
Because you complained about it the whole time.
Because we didn't know how to spell. Nate CH470. Yes. Nate CH479 on a scale of Steven Nelson to David Amerson.
Yeah.
How concerned should we be about Kendall Fuller, Craig?
Listen, I got to see Kendall Fuller against wide receivers that aren't Tyreek Hill and Sammy Watkins a little more before I start panicking. We saw him get beat by Felton Davis and Jamal Custis. That wasn't good. Like, that was what really raised my eyebrows about him. He doesn't look good. Like, I don't really see him ever making good plays out on the field. We don't see any highlights. We don't really hear anything about him. I'm hoping it's just picking up the scheme, getting more comfortable in it. I want to see him against guys that aren't, like, potentially elite receivers before I start getting concerned. I would say leaning a little more towards Amerson right now, which is a little scary, but that's kind of where I am. I need to see him have some good days at camp, hear about him having some good days at camp, or look good in a preseason game before I start really kind of bumping him up the ladder again.
So the interesting part for me is this scale spans from like really concerned to still pretty concerned is like the best option. I'll let you go with Steven Nelson. I actually think Steven Nelson's like level of play is a pretty good comp for the low end of Kendall Fuller, and it sounds like, just from people that have been there, that Kendall Fuller might be playing close to what his low end potential is right now. So like Kendall Fuller at his worst is a Steven Nelson-esque cornerback that simply means he can be out there on the field. He belongs on the field. He's not going to be the problem with your defense, but he's also not going to be a guy that's going to make a difference or a guy that you feel particularly confident in to make big plays for you. And if that's what Kendall Fuller, your best cornerback by a pretty decent margin's giving you, or at least what everybody thought coming into the year, that's a huge problem. So either way you slice it, I don't think it's good what we've heard from Kendall Fuller so far. It is also.
Oh, sorry. What did you say, Matty?
It's just also just camp. You got to be careful here. It is just
For sure.
camp so far. Everything can change. We all remember Fred Williams, the GOAT that never was.
Right, and we have more of those kind of questions here later. Our guy Ron Kopp asked it, so no, I'm a little bit concerned about Kendall Fuller. Honestly, he wasn't as bad when I watched. I mean, he still wasn't good. Don't get me wrong, but like I think he's had worse days than when I was out there. So I want to get eyes on him during the preseason. Let's see a little bit more. You just wish that you saw some consistency, some flash plays from some of these guys to give you a little bit of hope. And I just don't have it right now. That doesn't mean I'm not going to get it. But like right now, I just wish I saw a little bit more from the entire cornerback group in general. The Wazzy asks, I love this question. With Spags here and the excitement building for the defense, what happened with the New York Giants? Was it age, talent? What changes here?
Well, so I think what you kind of saw with the Giants is the first year that Spagnuolo got there, the defense struggled a little bit as they were putting in a new system. They were adapting to a team that didn't have that much defensive talent. And then as they went to build it through free agency and the draft, it got significantly better the following year. There in 2016, very good year. They kind of carried that offense that struggled with Eli Manning. Then the next year it kind of fell apart again with iffy head coaching. Steve Spagnuolo had to become an interim head coach at some point in time. A very key part of their defense is Landon Collins, and he's playing a lot of that year dinged up, injured. He wasn't near as effective as he was the year before when they were very good. So you just kind of had a culmination of things with some injuries. You had some older vets that started to fall off a little bit. You had a cycling group of linebackers that never once had the right healthy guys to start the season that could play in any given game. So just a little bit of bad luck. But I think at the end of the day, with Spags, it's a defense that's designed very much about guys doing their job. You have to follow an assignment. You're going to have a lot of different assignments based on the play call, but you have to know them. And if you have guys that aren't buying in, that aren't able to do it from a mental standpoint, it's just simply not going to work.
And just to kind of tag up with that, they were still paying Eli Manning a lot of money. A lot of money. They couldn't go out and be as aggressive in free agency, as aggressive in the draft, trying to build around a young quarterback like Brett Veach, Andy Reid, and Steve Spagnuolo have had the ability to do this offseason. It feels like that year, the first year that Spagnuolo was there, while they were still kind of cycling up towards the scheme and everything like that, it took them that extra year to really build it. I feel like they're going to skip that, and that we're going to start to see a little more impact out of the linebackers, out of the defensive line. They kind of built it already. So short of the cornerbacks, I think he's going to have much better talent than he did there at New York, and I think he's going to be able to create a little more havoc with the fronts that he can run with that defensive line.
Also, just to tag on to everything these guys already said, the time away is going to help. The staff that he's brought in is going to help. It was reported, I believe, recently that Spags spent some of his time Brian Baldringer said it, I believe. He spent some time away looking at the college game, analyzing the college game. He brought in a really quality staff that has some of those college roots, as well as Brendan Daly to help him get the D-line right. Like those are some real positive things there for this group, and I think they could pay off. I think a culmination of those little things, a little time to step away, refresh, get an idea of what's out there. I think we'll see some good things here. Corey Peter asks, I like this question too. Is it reasonable to hope that our run D is improved enough that with our high-flying offense, we can make teams more one-dimensional, let our pass rush go nuts to cover up the weaknesses at cornerback?
The run defense is definitely going to be improved. The big thing here with what Steve Spagnuolo does, he goes not necessarily out of his way, but he puts his foot down. He's going to stop the run. If you're going to go out there with the heavy personnel and produce a heavy run attack, if you're going to try to run the ball at his defense, he's going to put out 2 310-plus pound defensive tackles. He's going to put out 2 linebackers that are more of a middle linebacker skill set. And he's going to have these guys bang between the tackles. He's going to use a Sam linebacker. He's going to have bigger, stronger players that excel at stopping the run. So you're not going to be able to just power run the ball down the Chiefs' throats. The issue comes in if you spread it out and still try to run, you can find creases to run against, and that's where you're kind of relying on specific players to make the plays. The thing is, the Chiefs now have the players in the front seven to make the plays, and if they can do that, if you can stop a spread rushing attack, you're going to set yourself up in second and longs, third and longs, and this defensive line should be like poised to have a huge impact on the passing game when they get in those situations.
Let me tell you that when I watched 9-on-7s this past week, and granted, 9-on-7, the defense knows that they're running the ball. It's different. They get after it a lot quicker. Everybody's in their gaps. They're in the right spots. Guys are blowing stuff up off the edge. Alex Okafor and Frank Clark both looked excellent out there. So I think that just in general, we're going to be seeing a lot more 2nd and 8s, 2nd and 9s, 3rd and 6, 7, 8, situations that are beneficial to the defense. And that's going to help them tee off. That's going to force a lot of later developing routes to try and get to the sticks. That's going to help your corners a little bit too. I will say when they got into team, every time I watched the offense try and run, it was shut down almost immediately. So I do think that this defense is already significantly better against the run. We'll see if it does result in those sort of longer down and distance situations.
Brandon 422 asks, how does this year's training camp compare to the previous one? I've seen across the defensive side of the ball, I've seen more of a pulse, frankly. I think you saw, and you were a little bit concerned about some of the things that you saw at training camp at times. I think with the Mahomes looks like a completely different person, which I hate saying. Like, I hate saying it, but a guy, he didn't look, the trigger wasn't as fast all the time last training camp. He looked like he was thinking a little bit. He put more balls at risk. I don't think he's testing the offense any less than he was last year. I think he's just better. Mm-hmm. The energy, the energy is exceptional. The communication's high. They're not wasting any time, specifically on the defensive side of the ball. Like, it's a completely different environment, and there's might even be more talent there too. Like, it's looking good.
It's ridiculous to me, and I say this to people, and people don't believe me. It's ridiculous to me if you haven't been out there at camp. Patrick Mahomes is better, unquestionably. He is 100% better. His decision making, his timing, his touch. His everything, like it's like watching a different person from the person that had a top 3 quarterback season ever last year, and in a good way. Like, these are all positive improvements that he made, which we knew that he had room to grow, but it looks like, and granted, camp, you take everything with camp with a grain of salt, but it looks like he fixed a lot of the little deficiencies that he had already.
It's ridiculous. Like, it's just confidence too. Like, he knows he knows what he is now, and he's just it's beautiful to watch. And I know you keep saying, like, take it with a grain of salt. Like, with Pat, I'm kind of not. I'm sorry. Anyways, please continue, Craig. My bad.
Yeah, it's just a different level, and he knows it. Like, the confidence, he knows it too, and the fans know it. It is obscene. I sat on the hill next to Bearcat and his Dirkness on that first day when there was an amoeba of screaming fans for Patrick Mahomes that just followed him around after practice. It's ridiculous, the kind of reaction that he gets. I mean, you see positive reactions for Tyreek Hill, for Chris Jones, for Travis Kelce, those superstar type guys, but it is a next level thing. I've never seen anything like that at an NFL training camp. It's obscene. It's obscene, the kind of love that he gets. I hope we keep him forever.
Yeah, he's never gonna grow old.
How has vocal leader Justin Hamilton been?
Vocal leader Justin Hamilton been?
Oh, there's some shade there.
He's been getting some reps. Just
I did not notice it once. I did not notice.
No, I mean on the field. I mean, who's he having to pump up to play hard?
Nobody. needs to be pumped up to play hard. Frank Clark will make sure that you are pumped up to play hard. And Patrick Mahomes. There ain't nobody that's slacking out there.
All right, we are going to take a break. We'll be back with more of your questions after this.
All right, for everybody on the live stream, how's it working? How's it sounding? Give me the bad news that this is awful and it's not working so that we can fix it.
There's a Matty's game joke in there somewhere.
Well,
everybody was trashing on the game because Kent spent the whole time complaining about it. That's okay.
He said what Craig was thinking.
Keep the content stuff to yourself. I'm talking about all that. And Corey Peter, I'm sorry that I missed you earlier when I was shouting out all the handsome people. Got to meet you too. He's in the live chat as well. Yeah, it's been great. But
listen, I just expected my contestants to have a bigger personality and to own the stage, Clint.
Oh man, Matt, how long have you known us?
I think if we had just been forewarned that we were going to have to know the spelling of players' names, we probably would have been a little bit better shape. But you're like excluding players that were born on Tuesdays with the letter A in their name. Type
these players' names, you should know by now.
It's more about trying to think.
I don't write about the offense.
Oh gosh.
We got any questions in the chat?
I saw a couple in
favorite 2020 draft prospects so far besides the obvious ones. That's a great question. A
deep knowledge of the corner class.
Hang on, and it's not a corner. David Woodward out of Utah State, linebacker. He's my second favorite linebacker in this upcoming class. Now, it's a terrible class. Like, seriously, every one of these guys I put on gets worse and worse and worse. But, yeah, I like him. I like him a lot. He's a little deeper sleeper. Corner-wise, Kendall Vildor out of Southern Georgia. He's fun, too. He's fun, too. So, yeah.
You went way deep dive. Like,
man, I'm in here.
You are. You really are.
Like, yeah, my running back one's pretty good.
I gave him DeAndre Swift because I'll say this: Keyshawn Vaughn, out of Vanderbilt,
my guy,
a day 2-ish kind of prospect. He's fun. And I remember him last year, but I watched the Baylor game, and the dude's balance through contact was real fun to watch. Jordan Love's kind of a deep sleeper at QB. I watched like probably 7-ish prospects at QB. A lot of them, like the big names are there. I think I might wind up liking Jordan Love better than potentially a couple of big guys. He's kind of on a developmental path that if he has a good year, he could wind up being a first-round prospect. Because I think there's some really, really good tools there. And he just needs a little bit more time.
Let's see.
I went with offensive center Nick Harris from Washington. I wrote about him or watched last year. Started to write up a little scouting report for him before he went back to school. But I absolutely love this tape. The crazy part is he's probably center 3 in this class because Tyler Biadasz and then Humphrey Creed, I believe is his first name, from Oklahoma.
Creed Humphrey.
Yeah, other way around. From Oklahoma. Yeah. Also very good. But Nick Harris is so much fun. And then Prince Tega Wanogho from Auburn, left tackle, still kind of raw, but he was a lot of fun to watch. You can definitely see if everything clicks in his lower half, he's definitely going to be a top-tier offensive tackle prospect. So just some fun guys that I'd watched so far along the trenches.
Let's see here. We've got... Are you guys worried that Colin Saunders is third string on the first depth chart? That's from Chandler Lewis. No, not at all. He's consistently running with the second team. I think... We found out a lot of this depth chart is made by PR people, not necessarily the coaching staff here. So not a whole lot to worry about from that regard. Colin looks good. Colin's got a lot of technique things that he's working on cleaning up. He's working very close with Brendan Daly and Frank Clark. Frank Clark's giving him all kinds of tutorials. Colin's going to be fine. I just don't... I think he's going to get a lot of run this preseason, and then they're going to ease him into rotational snaps during the season.
I got this question from Ryan Randall. How much run has Mark Fields got with the second team? there a chance he doesn't make the team? Fields, I don't know, has much of any run with the second team at this point. There's a very good chance that he does not make this football team, and it has nothing to do with his talent, because he is probably one of the three most talented, if not one of the two most talented cornerbacks on this roster. I really think is potentially more talented. Like, this guy, it's just, if you are a knucklehead, if something's going on behind the scenes, I know Spags called it the mental side. I think it's more than just whether or not he knows the playbook. Let's just say that. And
the crazy part from the outside, like from where I and probably a lot of other people that have been to camp have seen, Mark Fields makes more plays that make the highlight rounds on Twitter or wherever you want to go from Chiefs camp than any other cornerback does. So it is interesting sitting on the outside and not being there to see somebody like Mark Fields consistently making more plays than other corners, at least that make the highlight films that get out, and then be considered not likely to make the team. But it definitely seems like it.
Yeah, he's not running with the twos at all, and they need corners that play well, and he showcases talent. So,
put two and two together, folks.
Yeah, that should tell you exactly what you need to know about that. Let's see here. Do we have others?
One quick thing. I did want to go back to Chandler Lewis's thing about Colin Saunders. And we've had other people mention that the first rendition of the depth chart that's come out, don't put any stock into the first rendition of the depth chart that the Chiefs release. It's going to change before the end of the preseason, and a lot of those changes they probably already know in-house. They're just not putting it out there as of right now. And even changes that don't come in on the very last one before it's official, just as often are as wrong as they are right once the actual season starts. So just take it with a grain of salt. If you see a guy starting to move up, maybe it's worth noting, but don't pay too much attention to who's listed as the third, fourth, fifth wide receiver, cornerback, or whatever. If you go to camp, just see where they're playing rather than where they get listed on these things.
And even at camp, sometimes you will have situations where guys are getting looks, especially here early, at certain positions and in certain teams. So even take those with a little bit of a grain of salt, because those two don't necessarily mean a lot. We'll get into one of those guys here in a little bit.
Yeah, I will say it, and I'm not saying this to say that there's not going to be a ton of changes that happens, and this is consistent. But like, there was some changes to the initial 53-man or depth chart, that they showed last year. I posted it. You can find it on my Twitter at Kent_Swanson. Shameless plug. Like, there was some guys that wind up creeping their way up there, but I mean, I think there was also some not surprises that kind of happened there too. Like, just look at it last year, and you'll see, like, I think Ben Neiman kind of climbed up a little bit. Marcus Kemp, I think, climbed up a little bit. It'll be interesting to see who those two or three guys are. But like, I feel like there's probably a good 48-ish roster spots settled at this point, I would imagine. It's just what's going to happen with those bottom 5 probably.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I definitely agree with that. A lot of questions in the chat about if McCole develops enough this year, is Sammy gone next year? I mean, yeah, obviously. If he shows enough to be a contributor as a wide receiver 3, and they can't get, Sammy Watkins to restructure, yeah, they'll move on from Sammy Watkins if he shows enough to do that. But I think that there's still a lot of growth, especially for what they asked Sammy Watkins to do. That's not necessarily McCole Hardman's skill set. So
no, it's not even close. And they don't have like a
guy
true X.
Correct.
They don't have an X.
They would have to draft the X, basically. So
or they'd have to sign the X.
Yeah.
So I mean,
look at these guys forgetting about Byron Pringle and Cody Thompson so quickly.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, Matty. Thank you for chiming in on wide receiver 6.
We didn't talk about McCole. Well, I didn't talk about McCole right there. I was talking about Byron Pringle and Cody Thompson.
I was talking about Byron Pringle as wide receiver 6 because he's probably wide receiver 5 when it's all said and done. That's my guess.
3, but
Wow. 2. Wide receiver 2.
You're that down on Tyree?
Are
You guys want to go?
Yeah, I'm ready to go.
Alrighty. I'll be ready in just 1 second because I'm slow as all get up. All right. You guys ready?
Yes, sir.
All right. In 3, 2, 1. It's time to answer some questions from the Gmail account. You can find us at apnerdsquad@gmail.com. We'll start with KU Ray. Asks Matty, with last year's numbers between Mahomes, Hill, and Kelsey, what are the odds of them repeating that feat this year, and how many more years to come can they repeat that feat?
They're more than capable of repeating or even surpassing the numbers they put up last year. I just don't think they'll have to, which is going to make it hard for everybody to kind of match those numbers. The talent or the ability to do so is going to be there. Just when you don't have to score 40 points to beat every competent team you face, you're not going to score 40 points to beat every competent team you face. I would project my prediction would be Kelsey's going to go down the most from last year. I just think you're going to see a lot more Sammy Watkins, more Tyreek Hill, McCole Hardman, Demarcus Robinson are going to eat into his stats a little bit more than vice versa. Mahomes is still going to have an MVP caliber year. It's going to be hard to match what he did last year numbers-wise with the defense improving. And Tyreek Hill, by all accounts, seems as impressive as ever. So I might not be too surprised if he comes close to matching his numbers from last year, even though the offense as a whole might put up a little bit less points in yards per game.
Schmitty713 asks us, with Tremont Smith moving on offense, looks as if the Chiefs are trying everything to keep him on the roster, presumably for his return skills. I think that's a good take, Schmitty. How bad does that make the draft pick of McCole Hardman look? I don't know if it really makes McCole Hardman look like a bad pick necessarily. I don't think that's really what this is saying. Now, that being said, McCole Hardman has looked rough catching punts, catching kicks. The times I've seen him, it's looked like it's been pretty inconsistent. Craig, real quick, he looked a little bit inconsistent when you were there too. Is that correct?
Day 1. Day 2, they stopped using. They used the jugs at the beginning of practice, and then actually had Colquitt kicking him some punts. Mm-hmm. He looked much better day 2. I wanted to see him actually catching physical punts, not jugs machine. He looked much better, but he did have a rough first day. Yes.
Gotcha. Yeah, so I don't know if it's really. I mean, I know that there's some concern there, and I think it's fair if you're concerned about that aspect of it. But I don't think it's a direct response to Mecole Hardman as a kick returner. And if they were drafting him in the second round as a kick returner, I would lose my mind anyway. Matt in Cincinnati emails in, love the podcast. The Chiefs scored 35.3 points per game and gave up 26.3 points per game last year. What are your predictions for those numbers this upcoming season? More interested in how much that D can improve. Middle of the road was around 22.5 last year, Craig.
I'm going to say the offense scores, 35.3. I'm going to say 34.8 because I'm a hater. And
such a hater.
Then I'm going to say the defense is right around like 23.5 for that. They'll be like maybe 3 points per game better on defense and right about where they were on offense last year.
I really like that. That's a good number there, Craig. All right, back to the Twitter mailbag. Chiefs in DC. What's the reasonable ceiling I can hope for Tano Pasnio? What are the good signs I should be looking for in the preseason game other than sacks, Matthew?
I'm trying to make it fast here. Working backwards, so what you're looking for in the preseason games. When I'm looking for a pass rusher and their progression through just their ranks as they're coming up, the first thing you want to see is them beating bad players. You want to see Tano Pasnio beating bad offensive tackles for pressures, not just sacks, but you want to see him giving a bad offensive tackle just his worst game of his life. So when he's playing the second and third team, you want to see him looking like he should be a starter. When he starts rotating in against the early second teamers or even the first team guys, you just want to see him getting the occasional pressure. He doesn't have to be dominant every single rep, but you do want to see him win from time to time against good players. And then you just hope as his career goes on, he builds that into consistency. That's kind of where we finally got with D Ford this last year, as he turned in these flashes of brilliance against good players into consistent pressures all year long. So for K-Pass, you just want to see him looking like he is significantly better than bad offensive tackles across from him. If that's the case, then he has a spot on the team to rotate in as the year goes along. But if he's just occasionally beating a third-string tackle, there's no reason to get your hopes up anymore. That's what we've seen the last few years. If that's all that's happening still, you can't keep riding on that occasional flash against a bad player.
And I know that Tano Passino is getting run with the ones right now. And it's in a NASCAR package, sometimes in a very large nickel with Chris Jones and Alex Okafor out. Let me tell you this. Tano Passino doesn't necessarily make that big of an impact when he's in those situations. Like Emmanuel Ogbah gets about the same run with the ones, and Emmanuel Ogbah, makes plays against the run, makes plays against the pass. Those other defensive ends do it as well. Tano Passino just needs to show up and be able to be a consistent defender in those types of situations. He was getting a little bit washed in the run game with the second team. Now, against one-on-ones, he's got a couple flashes. He's got an explosive first step. He's got length to keep guys off of him, but it's not a consistent thing. And I know everybody wants to talk up Tano because everybody loves Tano and wants him to work out. I do too. But I'm seeing a guy that they're rotating in with the ones the same sort of way that they're rotating guys like Ogbah, guys like Breland Speaks, and he's not really having that kind of impact to get excited about. So really, I think that people are just excited that he's getting some early run with that. That'll just be something to monitor as the preseason goes along. If he doesn't perform, he's not going to continue to get that run.
When you mentioned, looking good against the run, I want to see that. Because if he's getting washed in the run game, I want to see some growth there in that aspect, that he's holding his own, that he can be trusted there. One thing about Tano lining up early, it could just be that he knows he has a better grasp on what they want done. Sure. Maybe not from a technical standpoint completely, but I think Tano, he's been lauded as being a smart kid that knows what he's doing. That can, if once guys get caught up with more talent, maybe that's why we've seen some of the same things that we've seen with Tano, where we buy into it early and then late people catch up. So if people start catching up with him again, then I think that tells you all you need to know about Tano Passino. Mike Roscoe asks, how is Colin Saunders looking, and how is his game translating in practice so far?
Colin Saunders looks good. Colin Saunders is working with the twos right now. He's doing some damage. He shows a very quick first step. He's super agile, and one-on-ones he shows up all the time. That's a spot where he's really going to shine, working against a single guy, not getting help from, another guy, and not necessarily having to stay in a specific rush lane there. But he does have some technical things that he needs to work on. Brendan Daly gives him some extra reps. Frank Clark gives him some extra reps. And he asks a lot of questions. That's a good thing. Like, you can hear Brendan Daly actually saying things to him like, good, thank you for asking me that. Being very animated about his willingness to learn. I don't know that we're going to see a huge amount of him early just based on what we've seen. But he's firmly entrenched with the second team. He's going to be a guy going forward that's going to make this team and make it better, but he's still just kind of learning the ropes with this step up in competition right now.
Yeah, and I haven't been to camp yet, but I thought coming into the league that Colin Saunders is going to need a little bit of time to adjust, not only to the level of competition jump, but just his game needs some work. It was very loose. There's a lot of physical, just raw talent that he has, but his technique's a little loose. It's a little wild. There's a lot of upright play for a guy that does have natural leverage. I would describe his plays a little wild and a little sloppy at times. So he needs some time to fix all that. He's got to tighten everything up, move just a little bit quicker mentally, and then you're going to start to see him probably get a few more reps in when the games actually matter. Like I was just talking about with Tano, it's time that you want to see Colin Saunders start to flash against better competition right now. He doesn't need to be consistent yet. You wouldn't expect a rookie from a small school to be consistent right now, but if you just want to see some flashes of him during this preseason to let you know that there is that upside at this level in the NFL.
And frankly, I'm a lot more confident in Colin Saunders' developmental arc than I am Tano's at this point. I think the raw traits that Colin Saunders possesses are things that I think Steve Spagnuolo can really work well with the movement skills, with the ability to stay on the off the ground. I think he's got really good balance. I think there's a lot of positive things with him there. I didn't get to see much of him because they were playing in just helmets, so there wasn't a ton you could take away from that group when I was there. But he's definitely one of the guys that I'm most interested in watching here for the preseason games. Kay Gumminger asks, with the AP Lab not all that excited about a fantasy league? Who says that? I'm a champion over here. Are you guys going to open it up with us fans to make it more competitive? I think one of the things I think we are going to try to do this year is an AP Laboratory draft, fantasy draft, fantasy league. So be on the lookout for that. We'll probably make some kind of announcement here later down the road.
We should do some kind of pick 'em. I don't want to do a fantasy league with everybody, but a pick 'em.
Mm-hmm.
No, we're doing a fantasy league. We're doing a fantasy league, Matty.
It's too much effort.
Oh, stop it. See, okay. So I'm going to reread the question. With Matty not all that excited about a fantasy league.
Listen, I learned very quickly in my recent years, because when I was a child, when I was a teenager, I could crush fantasy football leagues because you just pick a guy that had a bunch of good stats the year before. As I've gotten attempting to get better at evaluating actual good players, it so does not translate to fantasy football whatsoever.
Really?
You say when you were a teenager, so last year?
Hey, Greg, I lost last year. I finished second to last year. Actually,
maybe you should just get better at it. Maybe I should light a fire.
I'm just going to auto-draft. I'm pretty sure that somebody auto-drafted and finished like third, so that tells you all you need to know about fantasy football.
Austin Falk asks, over or under Mahomes throwing 5 no-look passes, Matthew?
On the year?
Yeah.
And 1/2 a game? 5 seems low. I'm going to go with a hard over.
Hard over, Austin. It's happening a lot. And they're gonna highlight every single one of them.
Yeah, it's happening. He's gonna hit the 5 probably in week 5, maybe week.
Over under Marcus Mariota throwing 1 no look pass.
It's a half because they're gonna call it a no look pass even though it wasn't a no look pass.
I think every throw from Marcus Mariota has been a no look pass at this point. I know every throw Ryan Fitzpatrick throws is a no-look. Because he's just throwing it up and praying, and it worked for half a season last year.
Can't take a step back away from the QB slander. We don't want another Tom Brady situation on our hands here.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm positive.
I just love to hear Kent just rant and just try to destroy Ryan Fitzpatrick and just see the mobs of people that come after him. I think more people would take opposition against Kent for going after Fitz than they would Tom Brady.
I've got some very pent-up Ryan Fitzpatrick slander from people. People tried to tell me he was good like 4 years ago, and they were so wrong it drove me nuts. And I just got to dunk on him while the Chiefs picked him off to the tune of like 6 interceptions when he came in with the Jets. And everybody before that game was like, Ryan Fitzpatrick's good. No, he's not. He's a bum. Which is why halfway through the season, he got benched because he's cheeks.
Are you good? You got that off your chest?
Can we move on from this horrible take?
Yes, of Ryan Fitzpatrick hate.
A horrible take.
Matty, do not spin him up. Next question.
Jared Orksog asks, the biggest surprise and biggest disappointment so far in training camp, Craig?
Okay. My biggest surprise, I think anybody who's listened to the podcast so far will know what my two are. My biggest surprise is McCole Hardman, because I expected him to be a very raw player based on the film that we watched, based on the OTA stuff that we heard, based on everything that we heard basically about Hardman coming up to camp before they put the pads on. Was always tinged with a little bit of, yeah, but sort of thing. Like, he wasn't overperforming or anything like that. He looks like a functional receiver on the field. I think that he's going to be an addition to this offense that's bigger than maybe I thought before, going and seeing him in camp. And then my disappointment is Kendall Fuller. Guys, Kendall Fuller looks bad. He looks real bad, and I want him to look good because I really like Kendall Fuller, and I really want him to succeed in this zone scheme. I think he can. I just don't see it on the field right now.
So the biggest surprise for me is how long Dan Sorensen has been able to hold on to the starting safety job. And I understand that if you're a rookie like Juan Thornhill is, you have to go earn it. You have to go take the job away from Dan Sorensen. And the Chiefs, as an organization or as a coaching staff, seem to like Dan Sorensen. And his best spot, in my opinion, is playing deep in a scheme more similar to what Steve Spagnuolo is going to run for him. It's just the talent difference between Sorensen and Juan Thornhill is massive, and it really sounds like Juan Thornhill has picked up the defense and kind of just catching on to the NFL at a quick rate. Mm-hmm. So I'm just kind of surprised that Sorensen still is keeping that job, and it sounds like it's coming close to an end, but he put up a good fight, a lot better than I thought he would have. My biggest disappointment so far, I think, has been I've only heard a couple people talk about it, but it doesn't sound like Austin Ryder's having a particularly good camp. Not that he's been bad, but he hasn't been very good. Like, he hasn't stood out in a good way. And I just think that that's a position that we thought that we were going to be okay at after the draft went by and the Chiefs didn't seem overly concerned with it. But if he can't play to the level he did in a small sample size last year, that could end up being a pretty big problem.
I hate to say, like, I hate to duplicate answers, but, like, McCole is definitely my biggest surprise, and I'm cautiously optimistic that he's gonna have a productive season. Maybe he gets to that 400 or 500 yard range. Like, I'm kind of buying it a little bit, just because I think if teams force him to win off the line of scrimmage a lot, if that doesn't grow and develop. Yeah, maybe, this is all just for naught, but, like, he's had some opportunities to get some free releases. They can do some stuff to help him get free releases and let him run down the field. I'm kind of cautiously optimistic about that. My biggest disappointment is that Matty is supporting Ryan Fitzpatrick. No. Honestly, my biggest disappointment is that...
Me and the rest of America, Kent.
My biggest disappointment is that it doesn't seem like Mark Fields has earned the trust of this coaching staff. Mm-hmm. That dude is insanely talented. He's talented enough to be on this football team, and it's not even close. You see him making all these plays. He's probably made the most plays at the cornerback position, a position that this team is desperate to get players that can contribute, that can help this team get better, and he's running with the third team. That's a giant, massive red flag, and the questions haven't been answered about him to this point. If we don't see him climbing up the depth chart soon, I'm extremely disappointed. Okay. Ron Kopp asks, and this is our guy. Make sure you're following Ron Kopp on Twitter. Sure. He is a new writer on Arrowhead Pride. He's doing some great stuff. He's got a great article coming. I'm not trying to tease his own article. Favorite past Chiefs preseason standouts. Guys that didn't end up being much but were exciting. I've got to start with my guy. Pour one out for Arian Springs.
Okay, hang on.
He said standouts. Guys, he said standouts, like players that were good.
He was elite.
He was my standout. He was my standout, Matthew.
That's disgusting.
Arian Springs was getting dudes lined up. He knew the playbook better than Bob Sutton. He was out there
and somehow was still out of position,
lined up,
and late to get to
at a high level, making plays on the ball.
He did?
Yes, he did.
One?
You're absolutely right. He did.
I gave up one.
Maybe two. Maybe even two, Matty. Pour one out for Arian Springs.
My guy that was a preseason standout that really didn't turn into much anything is Daddy Nicholas. My goodness. You want to talk about a guy that destroyed some third-team reps.
He stood out.
My guy, Daddy Nicholas, stood out. And then was
your daddy?
No, not my daddy.
His daddy, Nicholas.
Everybody's daddy. He He looked good. And then he got hurt. And then everybody put a whole lot of stock into Daddy Nicholas being a starting defensive end, starting outside linebacker, which he was not. And then he was promptly injury settlement or released. I can't remember which one of the two, but did not make this team and has kind of bounced around since then.
Mine's from the dark period of 2015, when the Chiefs had exactly one wide receiver worth mentioning in Jeremy Maclin. The preseason, our hopes were kept alive with the one, the only, Fred Williams. To the tune of 15 catches, 167 yards, and 3 touchdowns in the preseason, only to get beat out for a roster spot by Frankie Hammond Jr., of all people. Then Fred Williams went on to do nothing in the NFL. But that was a historic preseason run for a team that needed wide receiver help almost as bad as this team needs cornerback help.
Gross. Chief Boyard DG asks, which young player actually developing into their maximum potential would make you the most excited besides Patrick Mahomes because he's a perfect human being? For me, K-Pass putting everything together could be terrifying.
So here's kind of the issue I run into when I kind of think about maximum potential is if you're just talking physical potential, like what they can do with their body, then I think somebody like McCall Hardman or just any athletic player, kind of you want to put the mark at the most potential. But at the same point in time, football's played in the head too. Like it's a mental game just as much. You got to show me that you can do some stuff mentally before I'm going to say that you can do anything or everything on the field. So with that said, I'm going to say Darren Lee, because I have seen flashes of him being able to make any play, both physically and mentally. So if you somehow get him to develop, like to understand at the football at the same level as Luke Kuechly, with his athleticism and just what he can do flying all over the field, I think that would add a complete new element to this Chiefs defense that they don't have anything like right now. I mean, it's a long stretch, but other guys like K-Pass or some other people that might get mentioned here in a second, I think they have other players that can already fill those roles.
Yeah, I'm going to take this a little different way just because I think if they hit on him, then it offers them a little bit of versatility. Breeland Speaks. And also, I want to talk a little bit about Breeland Speaks. Let me tell you something. Breeland Speaks can rush from the inside. Breeland Speaks should be lined up inside 100% of the time. Breeland Speaks looked good. Good. I will even say he looked good lining up from the inside. Yet, he keeps getting trotted out as a defensive end. Guys, he can't do anything from the outside. We called him a stand-up 5-tech last year. He is a hand-down 1-tech. Like, just put him in his natural spot. Let him be him. I think if he hits his potential, he can be a 4 to 5 sack guy on the inside, and that is a lot for his, for that defense. That adds a lot when you've got a Chris Jones, Okafor, Frank Clark. It just gives you a little more oomph there on the inside, and he's big enough to stop the run. I'm going to go with Breeland there.
So Mekol's a good idea. I thought about maybe Charvarius, but I still think from a physical limitations perspective, I don't know if he's ever going to be able to change directions at a high enough level that you can only expect a jump so big. So how about this one, fellas? Juan Thornhill.
Oh, nah, he's hitting his potential. Yes.
Oh, wow. Oh, so I think if Juan Thornhill, Juan Thornhill's ceiling, the roof, Michael Jordan. I think he could be an elite free safety. I think that's how high his ceiling is. If he hit his ceiling, you're getting insane ball production from the free safety position. I think that would be a huge jump and bolster this secondary. That's my guy. He might come close anyway. So maybe I'm just too pessimistic right now.
I like it. But he looks great, guys. He looks so great.
I'm so hyped about him. You if you listen to the show, you know how high we were.
Mm-hmm.
If they'd taken him at 29, we would have been very happy. So we are Juan Thornhill fans, and we always have been here.
I'm just happy nobody picked Arian Springs for this segment too.
He's not
put
on
him
the
into
team.
any random question, even though he doesn't fit the criteria.
If he was on the team, we would. Will Amos one last question tonight asks, Craig said that on Saturday the defense looked really good in red zone situations. Is there a possibility that this defense just gives up a ton of yards in between the 20s, but is able to operate on a bend but don't break basis?
I don't think so. I don't think that's what Spagnuolo is going to do this year. We're not going to see... They may give up a lot of yards, but it'll be in chunk plays. It's not going to be the quote-unquote Bill Belichick style. Bill gets credited with that, even though it's not always the case. It's going to be a situation where Spagnuolo is going to try and press the issue. He's going to try and set up long and down and distance situations, and he's going to blitz the hell out of the offense, which is going to either result in big stops or big plays for the offense. One of either there. So I think that there's going to be plenty of yardage to go around, and I think that there might be plenty of touchdowns to go around just as well as him coming up with a lot of key stops. I don't see a bend but don't break defense out of this at all. That being said, they did look really good in the red zone. So,
Yeah, I'm with Craig there, and I'm glad he answered the way he did because I didn't want to go directly against him on this, but I don't see Steve Spagnuolo going with a bend, don't break. That's not his way of running defense. From what I've seen, he's not calling a defense to play it safe. He's more than willing to get beat on a blown coverage or a cornerback just getting beat over the top without really a safety net of any kind to attempt to get pressure or to set himself up to get a turnover or a big sack or pressure, anything like that. He's very aggressive. He's going to bring it. He's not afraid, like I said, to give up that big chunk play. Now, I can see how when they get into the red zone, when that field gets reduced, how there is that kind of extra defender in terms of the end zone line in the back, how you can have a better kind of red zone defense than you do between the 20s, but there is in no way, shape, or form a plan to be passive between the 20s and wait until a team gets into the red zone to hold them to a field goal.
I agree with everything you guys have said. I don't think it's going to necessarily be a bend but don't break kind of mentality. I'm going to add an interesting caveat here because reading through, I haven't been in every practice, but reading through some of the situational stuff that has been happening. Craig, did you see any situational kind of stuff this weekend?
A little bit. They were working on some third and long situations a little bit. That's
Okay.
about the only situational stuff I saw.
So I saw some 2-minute. I heard they did some red zone work. And guess what? It sounds like the defense had a lot of success in a lot of the situational football stuff. When I was there, the defense won the 2-minute drill 3-zip. So it sounds like they've done some good stuff in the red zone work down. If they're able to kind of win with some of the situational football, it goes a long way in winning football games in January.
Yeah,
so that's something to keep in mind.
It's not a bend, don't break strategy. It's kind of a break or break them strategy because he's either going to play or he's going to stop them in their tracks. Yeah, that's what the defense is. So I can fully understand how situationally they would show up very well, especially if they're working on those situations in practice. And they very well might in games too, especially third and long, second and longs. But there's not going to be this soft shelled coverage just allowing everything underneath from Steve Spagnuolo. It's just not going to happen.
No. 100% agree. All right, that's going to do it for this week's episode. We will be back later in the week with a game preview for Chiefs versus Bengals. Catch you later.
And Arian Springs will not be involved.
Anybody got any...
Looks like the stream went dead for some people.
What?
Oh, no. Right at the end?
Right at the end.
Rip.
That sucks.
Are we back?
I can hear it. I can hear everyone right now. I can see.
It seems like it's off for everyone.
Yeah.
Strange.
That sucks.
We made it so far.
We did.
Segue.
Huh?
I was reading. Oh my. Okay.
Oh, it's working for some people, it sounds like. Does
weird.
anybody have any questions?
We had how many Pro Bowls is Juan Thornhill going to get?
36.
Yeah, like 8.
Okay.
8-time Pro Bowler Juan Thornhill.
Gotcha.
I'd set the over under at 5.5.
5.5.
18. I'm sorry, I was too low.
6.
18.
I'm gonna say 6.
So you
He's
got
so good, guys. He looks so good.
Yeah, but when the Chiefs are playing in like 8 straight Super Bowls,
It's true.
Are they gonna get Juan Thornhill fatigue?
they don't. Do they do that with safeties?
No.
Pretty sure
They don't
that doesn't
do that
happen
with safeties. Yeah.
But more so, I'm just the Chiefs in the Super Bowl rule out a Pro Bowl appearance. Yeah.
Let's see here.
Who's the backup long snapper? I think it might be Travis Kelce, Anthony, if you're still listening.
I mean,
I think it was in the past.
yeah.
Oh, Craig. Raheem Glee asks the percent of blitzing we do this year. Ooh.
That's a really good question, Raheem. 34.6%.
Seems high. I like it.
Very, very specific.
Chris Albright asks, it's crazy that Tom Brady got a 2-year, $7 million extension. It's kind of like a fake extension, Chris.
It is,
like,
yeah.
It's not totally real.
His contract voids at the end of 2019. At the end of this season, he will be a free agent even with that contract.
Anthony LeSure, can anyone tackle Keenan Allen on an under route?
That
I can't. Not in this chat.
Listen, like no offense to Keenan Allen, because I think he's one of the most talented wide receivers in the NFL. He's just as likely to blow out a body part running that under route as we are to miss a tackle.
Any competition for Colquitt? We got to see Jack Fox punt the ball the second day. The first day, he literally walked up and down the sidelines and was practicing his drops. And just practicing them over and over again.
The goat we were promised.
The goat we were promised. He doesn't stand any chance of beating Colquitt out. Colquitt's the punter on this team. It's so much better. Colquitt probably boomed a 75-yard driven punt while we were standing there. It was pretty awesome.
Charlie Rogers, what's up? Right on time, buddy.
Let's see. How bad are the Raiders going to be? Very, very bad. Very bad.
There's a potential for that team to be one of the biggest train wrecks in the entire planet. And at the same time, like they've amassed so much talent that if they somehow struggle their way to like competing for a wild card berth, it won't be incredibly wild. They have such a wide array.
I got a Raiders joke.
Go for
Raiders
it.
joke's coming in.
Go for it.
The Raiders season's gonna go one way, and the heel of Antonio Brown's foot's gonna go the other way.
I did not need to see those pictures of Antonio Brown's feet. That is.
Oh.
I did not need to see those pictures.
Sliding around. Chris Albright just said San Francisco 33 years. Sounds like D Ford's back's not participating right now. Also, did you know the San Francisco 33 years quarterback only has 17 career touchdown passes?
And 100 and something less passing attempts than Baker Mayfield in their careers.
Yeah. That's not great, Bob.
No, I like Jimmy G.
Also, is it what?
Do you have Jimmy G quarterback slander you got to throw out here, Kent? What's up with that?
Yeah, get that off your chest.
Yeah.
There's not enough sample size to slander him yet. Slander. That's slander in itself.
Sample slander? You went with
sample slander. Yeah, there's not enough to slander him yet because he hasn't played.
By the way, the question about Brady's contract voiding, that was from Ian Rappaport. So, I mean, yeah, NBC Sports is reporting it as well. Like, everybody picked it up for that. Yeah, the final 2 years automatically void on the last day of the 2019 league year. The Saints have done similar with Drew Brees' contract. Like, I forgot who I saw say it, but somebody said something to the effect of, rebuild's going to be hard enough. Might as well make your veteran player happy in the final years. I don't know.
I would be surprised if Tom Brady plays 2 more years. I said it.
Oh, I think this is it. Like, I don't think that it'll be a free agency next year. I think he's.
You think he's retiring this year?
I think he's going to retire after this year.
I think he's gonna. Well, sorry. What I'm saying. I should say I don't think he's gonna play the 2 years of the extension. So I think 2019 might be it. 2020 I think is definitely it.
Yeah.
And I'll be really pissed if he's still playing because him and Bill figure out a way to be competitive and it just.
Will the Patriots double Tyreek on almost every play again this year?
Yes, they will. I'm not saying Travis Kelce's going to take a step back, but I'm saying he's going to take a little bit of step back.
I don't think they should. Like, I think that as long as Sammy Watkins is healthy going into it and playing like he can, I think it's going to be too risky what the weapons the Chiefs offense is going to have to double a player as obviously as the Patriots did last year. The issue is the Chiefs offense can't get shut out in the first half again and put themselves in a situation kind of where they have to play so much catch up.
But so what is he doing to make him play left-handed if he's not trying to eliminate Tyreek? I think they're just going to try to eliminate Tyreek. I really do. I think Tyreek's what makes this thing really click. Now,
but the issue is that was kind of the first matchup where they went to take out Tyreek Hill instead of Travis Kelce, and the Chiefs still put up as many points, if not more points, than they do in the past when they've taken out Travis Kelce. Not that they'll go out of their way to double team or send extra chips at Travis Kelce again. It's just that was the first time they did that against Tyreek Hill rather than paying more attention to Travis Kelce.
But they also controlled the game though.
They did.
Okay, Tyreek's the most explosive element of this thing. Okay, so I mean, I feel like if you're gonna make a team nickel and dime you, your best chance. If you're gonna make the Chiefs nickel and dime you, your best chance of them nickel and diming you is Sam and Kelce.
But if you're gonna double team Tyreek Hill with his speed, you're essentially saying, "Hey, one person, all you're doing is playing deep." And if you double team Travis Kelce, you can use both players to do more than one role. If you have 2 players dedicated to Tyreek Hill, all they're doing is making sure they don't get run by. Mm-hmm. That's my issue is if you're a defensive coordinator and you're saying, hey, I'm going to take away Tyreek Hill, part of that consists of taking a safety and putting him 30 yards deep pretty much as soon as Tyreek Hill threatens vertically, which takes him completely out of the play. With Travis Kelce, you can still have Hightower run over there, jam him on the line of scrimmage, carry him 10 yards, and then sink down underneath whatever way he breaks, as well as your safety help, and they can serve multiple purposes.
And then Gilmore can be on Sam.
Yeah, and it clearly worked. Don't get me wrong.
Sam beat Gilmore like a drum.
It clearly worked, but it's just a strategy to send 2 guys deep with Tyreek Hill.
They went and doubled Kelce a little bit to that game still, I believe, as well. So some downs, I think Travis did get some of that.
I love Travis Kelce. He's one of my favorite Chiefs of all time. He needed to have a much bigger game against the Patriots for the amount of attention they were sending at Pat and at Tyreek Hill.
I don't disagree. They also, the Patriots got to mug that whole group up at the line of scrimmage too. I watched that game again. I was just like, what?
They did.
They got to do whatever they wanted. It was creepy. Duke Dawson. I don't know if Duke Dawson played, but that game was made for Duke Dawson because the only time Duke Dawson was good was when he was bear hugging the guy.
They talked about it. They went to the old Pete Carroll and Legion of Boom strategy of your first drive, they're literally just going to hug every single receiver, and if they get called for penalties, so be it. When they get physical but don't just hug somebody the rest of the game, it looks like they're trying hard, like they're doing better. They essentially, it tapered off as the game went on. They were still overly physical, but they started the game just committing blatant pass interference, trying to get the refs to call it so that they could back off of it and just be too physical. It was a weird situation.
Andy got into some of his man beaters too. So like they found some he got into some of those rub concepts he's been saving all year, and they worked. I mean, that's part of it too. They just like, you think about the rub to Sam and the rub to, was it rub to Damian? I think I don't even know if they really ran a true rub play to Damian. Yeah, they did. They did. So like, I mean, they found some ways to counteract it, and it may not matter this year. Like,
well, at least this year we'll have pass interference reviewable to make sure that all of that gets handled and it's not a giant cluster F or anything like that.
There's no way that ends bad. No way that ends badly at all whatsoever.
I almost think that makes it worse if that's your strategy, because you commit blatant pass interference, you get the other team to challenge it, and then as the game goes on, you're like, well, wait, see, I didn't do that this time. Like, I don't know. It's just, if that's your goal, and it's worked for multiple defenses over the years. Seattle made it super popular. You just come out the first series of the game, be blatantly over-aggressive, overly physical, and if it doesn't get called, you just keep doing it. If it does get called, you back off 10%, and like it just shows improvement, and the refs are less likely to call it. It's just a wild strategy that's worked in the NFL for the past decade.
Mm-hmm.
You're not wrong, dude. And like, we'll see. I mean, I feel like if Sam is healthy and if he really did take a step, I mean, it's gonna be harder. I mean, remember, Sam ate still.
He did.
I think,
and he was hurt.
Guys, I don't want to do this to all of us. I really don't. All that stuff we talked about that game and the post-mortem, Pat missed a wide open Damian Williams down the sideline in the first half for a touchdown. Yes. Wide open. And all this talk that we have about this whole thing, I mean, all the stuff we talked about, they were a couple plays away from it not mattering. So we can talk about this brilliant game plan. I think the funny thing is we talk about this brilliant game plan, and it would have been the Chiefs scoring 38 points, and we wouldn't be talking about a brilliant game plan. We're talking about a brilliant game plan that still led to 31 points. Bill just he did both games. This is what Bill did. He tried to slow them down long enough, and then the Chiefs figured it out and were just too good. I mean, that's just it. That's really it is. He tries to slow them down as much as he could.
Well, and that's both these games, but more so the playoff game, was kind of the first time in a couple meetings that it seemed like going into the game, Bill Belichick outcoached Andy Reid with the game plan. And I mean, that's not a slight at all, because Bill Belichick's Bill Belichick. But when the game started, the Patriots definitely had the number scheme-wise, or their game plan was better than what the Chiefs was offensively. And as the game went on, Pat kind of figured it out. They figured out how to beat the long looping stunts and the random amoeba fronts with different pressures, and then they scored 38 points.
Right. I got one more question. We'll close on this one. Red Georges asks, is a question for me. What was more heartbreaking, D Ford offsides against New England, or Gordo being 90 feet away against the Giants? Without knowing what happens in 2015. The answer is D Ford being offsides, and it's not even close. And here's why. The 2014 season was house money, 100% house money. I felt like just grateful. If the Royals season,
I'm so mad we're ending on a baseball question.
Sorry, this makes it even better. The Royals beating Oakland might have, like, it there's so much joy in my heart from that moment. Like, it was watching a terrible baseball team for so long and just having that gratification. Then them running through the AL was just like, I mean, it all felt like gravy. That it would have been nice to win the World Series, but like I felt like it hurt a little bit. Obviously, it hurt a lot. It did hurt a lot. Patrick Mahomes had a chance to win the AFC Championship game for the first time in my lifetime. and it was against Tom. It would have been the end of the Brady era and the issuing in of the Mahomes era officially. And it's not just because it's fresh. It's 100% the AFC Championship game. 100%.
Well,
Baseball.
Thank you, everybody, for showing up this week to the live stream. We really appreciate you guys sticking with us through some of these technical difficulties.
Some of these question difficulties.
Some of these Kent slandering quarterback difficulties. Some Arian Springs difficulties for Matt.
Spelling quizzes.
Me not having a beer this entire live stream, in case you didn't notice, guys. That was my difficulty.
Struggling with basic spelling.
Also, me and Matty, you guys don't know this, me and Matty haven't been able to see Craig this entire time.
Yes, some visual difficulties.
Behind the scenes magic. We haven't been able to see Craig this entire time, so we're doing this blind.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks for hanging out with us, guys.
Thank you guys for finding us. Hopefully next week.
We'll clean some more stuff up and get this thing a little smoother running next week. See you then.